big story we're following. A surge in gun violence has parts of Brooklyn under siege, which is prompting community leaders now to call on the NYPD to bring back the anti-crimes unit that was disbanded last month. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams says police reform is definitely needed, but it goes hand in hand with safety. Listen.
We must move forward on reform, but not move backward on safety. For there is no true safety without justice, and there is no true justice without safety. We must have more safety and more justice both on Park Avenue in Manhattan and on Park Place in Brooklyn.
Borough President joins me this morning to share more on what is being done right now to prevent more deadly shootings. Borough President Eric Adams, thanks again for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Dan. Good to see you.
Let's begin here. Brooklyn has been hit hard, right? 5 people recovering from drive-by shootings in Canarsie within the past 24 hours. A family in Bed-Stuy planning a funeral for a toddler. We've talked about gun violence right here on this show before, you and I. Why does this feel different right now besides the uptick? Is it because of who the victims are? And we're also seeing this coincide the same moment. There is a whole fight going on how police should handle these kinds of situations in neighborhoods.
Yes, and I think it feels different because we appear to return into those days when our city was under a siege of violence. When you think about it, the last time over 100 people were shot during a week was in 1993 when I patrolled the streets. Mm-hmm. And this is not acceptable, and it needs to be a combined effort to address it.
So my question for you is, what should be done? I mean, it's a loaded question, but is it something like bringing back guardian angels that we saw in the 90s? What do you see as part of the solution that can be enacted today?
And that's not a loaded question, Dan. That's a fair question. I think that it needs to be, number one, the police department must have a full, comprehensive response to gun violence. We still have a police department in the city. Even with the calls of reform, the righteous call for reform, that should not get in the way of addressing this problem. You can't have citizens shot in this way and not have a response. The second, I think we're doing a great job with the CMS teams who are really addressing the retaliatory shootings. We need a coordinated effort with the hospitals to allow them inside and speak with families after trauma like this. And third, we need a real federal response. We have never had a response on handguns. Yeah. America's problem is handguns, not AK-47 and assault rifles. We should get rid of those and address that. But in actuality, the largest number of victims of shootings that are black and brown across America, including New York and Brooklyn, they come from handguns, and no one is talking about that.
But something happened. I mean, there was a pandemic, right? But 634 shootings in 2020. Compared to 394 in 2019 between the same stretch of time, almost double. So let's talk about the NYPD's anti-crime unit, which was disbanded last month in response to the Black Lives Matter protests and some of the questionable tactics that were being used in black and brown communities. Do you think the anti-crime unit was effective in keeping numbers down and that it should be brought back, or is it too early to tell?
I think it was a combination. I believe in some areas it was effective, in some areas it was abusive. And that's why I asked the police commissioner to, now that we have disbanded, let's build it the right way. Let's make sure we have seasoned officers with communicative skills that can communicate well, officers who wear some part of a police attire, such as a jersey, so they can be identified, and also have officers with experience on the job. When you look at the old street crime method of the abusiveness of street crime or anti-crime, we can't do that. It should be localized street crimes, localized anti-crime, precinct level. This would ensure the right supervision and the right and appropriate action.
Let me get your take on something the police commissioner has said time and time again right here on Pix 11. He has said that the rise in shootings and rise of crime is blamed on a multitude of things. But one, he wants to know specifically about going after quality of life crimes. And he thinks that would actually make a difference. What do you see as a quality of life crime right now playing out that could affect seeing gun violence?
And I subscribe to that theory also, early morning, Dan. I subscribe to that theory also, that you can't have quality of life crimes in place and ignored. One, quality of life crime, dice playing. We allow open dice games. Those dice games lead to argument, disputes, and shootings. That needs to stop. Loud music played on street corners and just totally disregarding the quality of life of those who were there. Cars double parked and just disregarding the quality of life of everyday people. You can't continue to allow that to happen because that is what happened during the 80s and the 90s when I was policing in this
Right.
city.
And lastly, you introduced a plan for precision policing. So what exactly does that mean, and what would it look like? Have we seen it play out yet?
Yes, that was something that the police department was evolving to. Instead of throwing a broad net, stopping every young man in the community, you start to focus on specific people who have the profile. There's something in the city that we all know of. It's called shooters. These are individuals who have a lot of bodies or shot at a lot of people. We need to focus our attention on those shooters and go after them, identify them, and make sure that they're not creating violence in our community. And it's knowledgeable in our communities. Many of the CMS people who are involved in CMS, they are aware of it. That's the crisis management system. And so let's start focus and being precision in how we police the city and go after the street level of violence.
I mean, enough is enough. My heart just breaks for the 22-month-old family of Darrell Gardner. I know you saw the mother yesterday, and were you able to speak to her?
No, and I carry around these little shoes with me all the time because I think it's unimaginable for people to understand that was a baby. And
Yeah.
every mother in this city, no matter which neighborhood, ethnicity, they all know what it is to lose a child. This child should not be in a coffin. That baby should be walking in shoes like this. And that's why we need an immediate response.
That is a very good point there. All right. Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams, thank you for joining us. Hopefully something is done very quickly about all of this. And next time we're talking, we're not talking about the death of so many people. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. Take care.